wrong. However, this is not right. Hi, it's Danny. Welcome to my dark desk. Take a sippy, puffy. It's before noon, so your girl's gonna hit the water. After 40, you should hydrate. I'm just saying, wine versus milk. We're here to talk about Pluribus Season 1, Episode 2, Pirate Lady. Opening impressions on the episode, there were so many scenes, particularly with the Hive and the Hive exclusive, where it was just silence. And when we had the non-Hivers, Carol and other characters that we meet within the episode, noise, loud, conflict. Is silence better than noise? Is individualism better than collective thought? And those ideas are really explored within the episode in very subversive and subtle ways. But to start, we meet what our episode namesake is called, Pirate Lady. We're in the Middle East, and again, this is where the Hive is working in tandem, working as a group, working as a collective. Nobody's talking, but we see this pirate lady. They have a U-Haul, they're collecting bodies. And you don't even hear the instructions. Someone pulls up with a motorcycle and she just takes off on said motorcycle. She goes to an airfield and flies a plane. And we know she's working as a collective because there's absolutely no way that this young woman, I would say in her 20s, knows how to ride a motorcycle. Or maybe she does. We don't know her life. Maybe she was, vrooming since she was little. But flying a plane, flying a major aircraft, and then they have like random people on the tarmac. It's such a bizarre, surreal experience watching what seems like ordinary people do like non-common things. Not to say like flying a plane isn't extraordinary, but it isn't. It's only for a certain kind of person who received a certain kind of training. So you're watching regulars doing things that most regulars have not received training on. Conversely, we see Carol wake up. The first thing she does after, she hit the bottle hard last night. The bottle is empty and it was kind of full when she cracked that bad boy open. Hungover, but looks at her dead wife, starts the process of just like bury her in the backyard. And while she's burying her, that's when Pirate Lady rolls through. Now, the conversation between the Pirate Lady is Carol asking questions and the Pirate Lady being very evasive. Though answering the question, she's being evasive as eventually, Carol spazzes out and old girl like shuts down. Carol realizes like they picked somebody who looks like the male character in her book was supposed to be a woman, and the only people who knew about that was Helen and Carol. Carol changed it at the last second. So the fact that the Hive intentionally picked a person who looks exactly like the way Carol imagined Raban to be as a woman is so conniving. But that also displays how Helen had to have joined the Hive for them to have that information, because there was only two people in the world that knew that. Carol gets pissed, as she should, as is her right. And on top of that, they were spying on her with a military grade drone. In the last episode, they said Carol's life is her own. Why are you watching her with a military grade drone? And with all that emotion, Pirate Lady glitches. In fact, the twitch is very similar to what happened to the scientists when it first was bit by the rat, just glitching. Carol feeling guilty, which is surprising given how she talks and treats Pirate Lady and anybody. She drives out, she realizes everybody is spazzing out. She tries to help, but then they come to. By the time Carol comes back, Pirate Lady is gone, but she left gloves, a pickaxe. Carol threw the hat and just started using the gloves and the pickaxe. She eventually calls the people to say, hey, bring the Pirate Lady back. And she starts asking the Pirate Lady questions like, is she okay? What was that? How many people died? She's asking specific questions. And again, Pirate Lady is super freaking evasive. Pirate Lady is just like, him and Han. But eventually, Pirate Lady helped Carol get industrial scooper thingies, digs the grave for Helen. In the meantime, between time, Carol finds out how many people who are not affected, who are non-Hivers. There's 12 in the world, but only 5 of them that speak English. Carol asks for a meeting with all of them. The Pirate Lady tries to control it, saying, we could like have you guys connect. We could do a phone call. We could have interpreters. And Carol's like, no. I want to meet him in person. They all meet and they're speaking English. They're waiting for the last member of the English speakers because there's only 4 present. And Carol's like, where's the 5th person? Editing Danny here. I butchered the hell out of Kumba's name. Please forgive me. For the next 10 minutes, you're going to hear me butcher his name I'm gonna call him Kumache. I have no idea where that came from. You know what it is? It was the autocorrect in my notes. Please forgive me, don't hate me. We are introduced to Kumache, who's flying through on Air Force One. He has a harem of beautiful ladies. Carol dismisses the Hive. So Carol tries to, we gotta rouse up and rebel up. Are you guys scientists? Do you guys know this? Do you guys know that? Nobody's an expert. We gotta bring humanity back to what it was. By the way, Carol's suspicious of the Hive. She's like, turn off all listening devices. Y'all can go. Both of them, Kumache and Carol, are on opposite sides of the table. And she's like, we gotta change this. We gotta get people back to regular. And Kumache's like, why would we do that? No killing, no murder, no racism. Nobody's hurt. Why would we do that? And she's like, well, I know you're having fun, but everybody else, like, what do you think? And everyone's questioning, why would we return everything back? They're family-oriented people. They have their family. Why would they want to change it? They have everything they need. One of the young ladies, Kuzmeyu from South America, says, I want to join. Carol's like, oh baby, no you don't. Like, very condescending, very patronizing, like, and they're like, well, why wouldn't you given the description? And Carol's like, well, I didn't ask what it's like. Why would you ask a dealer what their product is like? Lakshmi from India is not feeling Carol because the freak out that Carol had caused her grandfather to die in a car accident. And Carol feels really bad. I'm so sorry. But you realize that all your family is already gone. They're not them. Lakshmi's like, yes, my son is my son. You can't tell me different. And then Carol's like, no, he's not. He is your gynecologist. He's your ex-boyfriend. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Carol. Everyone's going back and forth. Kumache gives me Librian energy, just trying to be peaceful, trying to be fair-minded, but also on the side of the people against Carol trying to change everything back. He's like, you know what? I'm hungry. Let's get something to eat. And they're having a meal and they're talking and Carol is upset, getting drunk. And then we find out that the Hive is vegan, but they can't kill anything. Whatever is in existence in terms of food, they have access to it and they're serving them with this fresh food that was left over from when the Hive took over. And they're like, even a bug, an insect, they're like, yeah, we can't do that. Not intentionally. We can never intentionally hurt anything. And then Carol's like, well, how many people do taking over? Pirate Lady's just like, well, it was very peaceful at first and then the military discovered us and then we had to accelerate the process, and apparently accelerating the process caused people to die. And she was saying that the compulsion to become the Hive is like breathing to them, and Carol is mocking them because she is drunk like a skunkity skunk, being obnoxious. And then Lakshmi is like, yo, stop cursing in front of my kid. And then Carol's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Tell me, what kind of, specifically talked about the medical device that is used to insert into a woman's. The kid starts to answer and Lakshmi's like, no, stop. Proving Carol's point that her son is not her son. Lakshmi brought up the fact that Carol shouting at Pirate Lady when she fell in front of her house caused 11 million deaths. When Pirate Lady came back to the house, Carol asked her explicitly how many people were hurt. She wouldn't give a full number, but Lakshmi had that number. She threw it, alley-ooped it at Carol, and Carol walked over to the table with the booze and just started chugging wine. And then she said, y'all are traitors to the human race, and starts to walk away. She falls out, and of course the Hive goes to like cater to her. Carol was knocked out for a bit, opens her eyes, started screaming at them, and of course they glitch out again. She wakes up in a beautiful house. The only person who stayed is Kumache, because Kumache is trying to get up on Pirate Lady, because Pirate Lady is a stunner. And he's just like, hey, can Pirate Lady come with me? And she's just like, what is wrong with you? Yeah, she kind of low-key hikey implies that he's a rapist. He gets offended. We find out Pirate Lady's name is Zosa, calls her over and says, hey, have I been untoward? Have I been... And Zosha's like, no. And Carol's like, well, if you want to go with him, go with him. And Zosha's like, I can't. Making a choice would hurt either or. And I can't hurt. You have to choose for me. And Carol's like, then you don't have free will. And I want you to have free will. So she's, go with her. Go with him. Whatever. Next scene, you see her on the plane. She looks out the window. Zosha is walking on the plane with Kumachi. The next scene, Carol's running in front of Air Force One to say stop, and that's how the episode ends. We learned a lot about, in terms of the Hive, sussy, manipulative, because think about it this way. They know how to fly planes, ride motorcycles. They have the wealth of human history, expertise, and knowledge within one individual. The Hive has the expertise of every single person on the planet, including psychiatry, psychology, neurology. They're experts in everything, including manipulation. How can Carol combat that? She is in grief, in shock, and she's coping with alcohol. Like, she's an alcoholic. She doesn't have her wits about her to like really combat what the Hive can do. So that's something that is to be explored, because it's easy to side with the Hive. They're not violent. They just give people what they need. Granted, they want everybody to join. It's a compulsion, but they have access to all this information. They have access to, they intentionally pick somebody who look like Raban, and Raban is Carol's fantasy. They intentionally pick somebody to look like Carol's fantasy after her wife has died, and she hasn't, like, they have all this information about Carol and they are definitely weaponizing it. And just like with the other non-Hivers being surrounded by their family and probably acting in ways that are indicative, and they know they took over these consciousnesses to know enough to know that they know how to act and pretend to be like them, to have that same kind of individuality, to kind of lull the non-Hivers into a false sense of safety and peace. There's something super evasive, manipulative, and the fact that they don't answer questions directly. Like, Carol asked, how many people did I harm when I screamed at you, when you fell out? Zosa never gave her that number. Why did it take Lakshmi to use that number against Carol? Carol should have had that information before if they truly cared about Carol getting hurt. And even when Zosha was setting up the arrangement for them to meet, she said something suspicious like, well, I can't protect you against the other human. It's very interesting. It's almost to imply the Hive think that human beings are combative, horrible creatures. And as a middle-aged, newly divorced, child-free black woman in the United States of America who's a child of first gen of immigrants, I can tell you that she ain't wrong, but this ain't right. That makes sense. So what else did we know? As much as his behavior is deplorable, insofar as like, my God, dude, the world is over and has changed and all you could care about is having as many beautiful women as possible. He was saying his next plan is to go to Vegas and go live in Elvis Presley's former suite. This is the depth of like, and that's not even fair to say, because to a certain degree, I actually like him. I think he has good intentions. I think he's doing the best with what it is. In other words, if you had access, a Hive was offering you the world because they don't know how to get you to be one of them, I guess the only answer would be is to have fun. And Kumache is having the most fun with a terrible circumstances. The whole world has changed, the whole world is different. He's just like, frack it, I'm just gonna live the best I can because I'm by myself in this world. I don't have family ties the way everybody else does. I have no responsibilities that way, so might as well enjoy myself. What's wrong with that? And exactly, the episode makes you think about what's wrong with it and how would you live if this happened to you. As I mentioned before, I'm a recovering addict, a recovering alcoholic. I have been sober for many years. I'm wondering if I was in this situation where my family and friends are like gone mentally, would I take to the bottle? Would I just get drunk? Would I get like, probably not, but you never know. And everyone's handling it the best they can, so it's hard for me to judge Carol. But I think ultimately, because of our introduction to her in the first episode, while she's kind of bossing her wife around and while she's judging the people who pay her bills, who support her and her wife and the lifestyle that she has, who affords her the ability to just sit at home and create, like, the fact that you're like that, you're a dick. So ultimately, Carol's not a great person. She's not a good person, but her quest is sort of normal because her argument is there's no individualism. Everyone is the same, and what do you lose when everybody is the same? And that's what she keeps asking, and that is ultimately the question that this episode asks. There's peace, no one's getting, there's no racism, there's no division, but there's also no individuality. Are they creative? And that's something I believe that the next few episodes is going to explore. That's pretty much the end of my like recap, summary, all the things. But please tell me your thoughts. Would you be like Carol, rebel rousing and trying to get the humanity back? Would you be like Kumache, living it up, going to Vegas, doing all the things? Would you be like Kazumiyu, who wants to leave her individuality behind to join the Hive? Which one would you be? Thank you for coming through to my dark desk and being triggered with me. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, Hive, do as you deem fit. Keep your sippy sippies, puffy puffies, however you call, close to you, but your instincts closer, and I'll be sure to catch you on the flips. Bye. So, I'm sorry.